Hey guys, welcome. This is Catherine and this is Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. Welcome to inside my greenhouse. This is my original greenhouse that we got up and running as of last winter. So we have put a full year of use underneath it, although that's not necessarily accurate because I didn't use it over the summer because it just got way too hot in here to be able to grow anything. So you guys can see my goats wandering around out there. They found me. And the loves of my life, my little puppies are out there somewhere too. You might see them wander through in the background as well. So today I wanted to talk to you about the advantages of heirloom seeds, why most homesteaders recommend you grow heirloom over hybrid, although there are some advantages to hybrid. There is definitely room for all kinds of seeds on the market, and I'm going to even include GMO in that, although I am not a huge advocate or proponent of consuming or growing. As a small farmer, you can't grow GMO anyway, but that's not something I necessarily am like a huge advocate for. But I know that there is room within our agricultural market for all types of seeds, and that there has become a necessity for that just in order to feed the masses. But for most small homesteaders, most backyard gardeners, most anybody who, oh, did you see my puppy? I saw him cruise through. Sorry, easily distracted, especially by puppies. So most backyard gardeners, I would recommend growing heirloom seeds. And what heirloom is in comparison to hybrid, because there's really not a huge difference. And I was, my puppies. So I had this conversation with a friend the other day and it kind of blew my mind. But the definition of heirloom is not that it has never been genetically manipulated in any way, shape, or form, because it has. Many years ago, there were certain characteristics and qualities of certain fruits or vegetables that were chosen over others, and they were conscientiously and specifically either cross-pollinated, or those seeds were kept, or there's selective breeding involved. But what heirloom is in comparison to, say, a hybrid, is they're genetically stable. So that selective breeding happened many years ago. I'm not exactly sure the criteria. I think it's so many generations, or like 100 years, or I don't even know. I'm not even going to go there. I learned that information at one point. It went in one side of my brain and out the other because it wasn't pertinent information that I really needed in order to operate. But so the point is heirloom is genetically stable. So what you can count on is that if you have heirloom zucchini of one type and you plant it this year and you collect the seeds from it this year and you plant it again next year, that it's going to breed true. And there's all sorts of variables involved. Things like tomatoes, squash, I can think of a half dozen others, but they're kind of whores of the plant world, and they will readily, oh, corn's another one, they will readily and quickly cross-pollinate with other varieties of that type of plant, and you end up with mutant varieties. And that's what an heirloom is. So genetically true, and then hybrids are the cross-pollination. So, and what you're going to end up with is, and you may end up with some wonderful hybrid that's some mutant form from some crossbreeding that you either did intentionally on your farm, or some other farmer did intentionally and you bought their hybrid seeds, or it just happened by circumstances beyond your control in your own backyard. But some hybrids are fantastic. They produce sweeter, they produce bigger, I mean, there's reasons for them. But most, like I said, to go back in time here, most backyard gardeners, most homesteaders believe in heirloom because you really want to have some quality control. You want to know that what you plant today is going to be what you grow next year, which is going to be the same thing that you can collect and grow 10 years from now. So you've got continuity. And so that way you have guaranteed results. That's a positive, especially in a situation where some of us are maybe preppers and you want to guarantee that you're going to have a food supply. And so you want to know that when you plant your tomatoes or your squash or whatever, that it's going to breed true, it's going to breed vigorously, it's going to be productive, and you're going to get a crop out of it. Because that's what you really, that's your goal and the whole point in growing food. So what I wanted to show you today is harvesting seeds from two different types of heirloom varieties, just because this is what I happen to have on hand. And I wanted to show you the advantages real firsthand of growing heirloom. So what I have today to share with you is pak choy. This is also pak with a P, also known as bok with a B. Same plant, it just depends on where in the world that you're referring to it. It's also known as Chinese cabbage. So it's part of the brassica family, and most of the brassicas, so being broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, they're going to put out these yellow flowers, and you need to let them fully flower, be pollinated, and then put out their seed pods and wait for the seed pods to dry if you're interested in collecting seeds. This right here is where you harvest your seeds. If you get it at any other time during its growing cycle, if you harvest the plant, and this is what I'm going to show you guys in a minute. If you can see down here, I have pak choy ready to harvest that just volunteered here in the walkway of my greenhouse. And it's true to form because it's heirloom, and it did not cross-pollinate with any other sort of brassicas. So it is what it is. So, but these guys, you just break off little individual, and I'll show you the tools that I have here for seed harvesting real quick before I get started. So I make my own little seed packets for seeds that I harvest here. I just take, and much because it's after my own heart on the reduce, reuse, repurpose, this is grocery bags. So some of the ones that I'm not incorporating into my garden, I'll just cut up. I use it for packing when I'm shipping stuff. I've used it for gift wrap because, weird as it sounds, I think it looks kind of rustic and beautiful, but it also turns into my seed packs. So I just fold them, tape them. I put the date on the back there so that way I can kind of keep track, have some sort of sanity. I used to not label stuff. Big mistake. I was like, oh, I'll be able to notice the difference between fill in the blank, and it's lies. A year from now, I won't know what I put in this envelope versus any other brassica because they all look alike. So, well, actually that's okra, but we'll get there. So what you do in order to do this, I have a little plate that I'm going to put my seeds onto. It's white, that way they kind of pop. I just stole one of my greenhouse covers from my seed starting trays here, which, by the way, I've got cabbage, 2 different types, and then broccoli I just started the other day. So, but this is to help keep my mess contained. And then in order to get my seeds into my little envelopes, I have a funnel. I'm really fond of silicone anything. They're just kind of fun, hard to break. I need that in my life. So, and then I'm going to show you guys okra because it's very much the same as the pak choy. It's just kind of a seed pod on steroids, but they share a lot of commonality. And in fact, seed harvesting from a lot of plants shares a lot of commonality. You want to wait, for the most part, for things to get big and dried out, hard, woody looking. Things like tomatoes is a little different story. Cucumbers, you do want to let them fruit really mature. You're not picking fresh stuff that you would eat off the vine. You want it to the point where it's almost like dry and hard on the inside, but I'm not going there today because I don't have those to show you. This is the only 2 seeds I have to show you today. But point of that was a lot of seed harvesting shares commonality. You want to wait for it to get way mature. In a lot of cases, wait for them to get dry, and then that way you know your seeds are mature and ready. So what I'm going to do is, just to show you guys, is I'm going to pull one of these guys off, because this contains all your seeds. And then it's going to be hard to see, but I'm just going to break it over this, and let's see if I can bring this to you and show you. You guys see that? So all those little seeds are just kind of in there loose, rolling around. They are teeny tiny, so you can see one seed pod here gives you all those seeds. That's pretty cool, huh, guys? And you can see, I don't want to drop all of those. Well, can you imagine if I dropped them over the top of my greenhouse garden bed? I'd have pak choy forever. So, but you can see, off of just one flower stem, I'm going to get a lot of pak choy seeds. So this And so when you're growing 4 seeds, you don't have to grow an entire garden just to harvest seeds. Pick one plant, and I would say one of your better plants, because that's the genetics you want to continue on and propagate. Do your own seed breeding program, but pick your best plants and let them go to seed. And then that way you've got the best of the best for your garden next year. So I'm going to put these seeds into, Pete, my peacock's walking by. I wish you guys could see him. It's like a fun wonderland here. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like some sort of crazy cartoon or something. Okay. Can you see him? There goes Pete. I love it. I just recently let him start free ranging because after my coyote attack and his 2 peahens were killed, he was all alone in the coop and I felt bad for him. So rather than keeping him in the coop alone, I let him out with the rest of my flock. He spends a lot of time with the goats too, which is really fun to watch him up the hill. And when I call my goats in, he comes running with the goats and he usually beats them. I'm not sure if I told you guys that story already, but it just cracks me up. I love my life. So this is okra. This is green okra. And for those of you who have ever grown okra, you'll totally relate to this. Okra goes from too small to harvest to mature within like 5 minutes, and then next time you walk out, it's like this gigantic vegetable that's beyond edible. I don't know how it happens, but it's one of those plants that you have to almost watch and check on multiple times a day in order to catch the perfect harvest time. So this one, can you guys see that? So these seeds sit along the inside of these ridges. And so as you open it up, it'll just, you see that? So I just open it up like, I want to say like a banana, but it's got more than the 3 peels. And they just drop right out. And honestly, one okra pod is going to give you enough seeds that you could probably plant an okra forest. Those are my guineas. I was recently given guineas. So, and you can see these seeds are much larger. That's why I did a bigger package. And then I've learned to not drop my waste. I'm tempted because I'm big into composting everything. But I have learned to not drop this into any active garden beds. So you're going to want to drop it into a compost bed that either gets turned or is going to sit there for a little while, because if you're putting all of your seed holes in there, chances are good you're going to miss some seeds and you're going to end up with lots of volunteers. So also keep that in mind as to where you strategically place some of this stuff, unless you're going to be really detail oriented and pick through it. So just some quick tidbits from me there. I wanted to show you guys if you can't see. So look at how beautiful that is. That's pak choy that volunteered. Probably even from maybe the seed pod, I have no idea. But I am going to harvest some of this, and in fact this week I'm going to do a series of videos on keto side ideas for Thanksgiving, and I am going to cook up this pak choy. I'm going to make some garlicky pak choy as a side. These are all radishes, guys. How exciting is this? So I've got some German giants, and then I think these are some sort of breakfast radishes, so 2 totally different sizes, but I've got a whole bed full of those. And then I just seeded this bed a couple days ago with all sorts of different types of greens. I did seed it prior and it was too warm in here, and so none of that germinated, but I was doing a head-to-head experiment for some of you guys who watched a couple weeks ago. So I started some seeds in this greenhouse, I started some seeds in the greenhouse next door, and then I started some seeds in my raised beds out in my actual garden area. So it's just open to the elements, it's an outdoor garden. and just out of curiosity how they were all going to behave and react and what kind of results I was going to get. So not at all surprised what I planted next door. Only the stuff that is hot loving type plants germinated because it is really warm in there. This is a little cooler environment, but even here was too warm for my greens to start, but they did happily start out in my outdoor garden. So, but now I'm maybe 3-4 weeks into or closer into winter, and so now is more a time to grow greens in my greenhouse. So that's where I started them this past weekend. So it's always an adventure around here, always tons of stuff to do. So I will be, like I said, putting together a couple videos on Thanksgiving sides because I was requested for that, specifically keto sides, and I'm going to try and put a heavy emphasis on keto from the homestead sides. So I hope you guys got something of value out of this. Please do check out other videos in my lineup. I appreciate you watching as always. I will put some ways you can support my homestead into the description, and I hope you guys take care. I know that you guys may catch this throughout the entire year, that it's just going to be sitting out there, but if you happen to catch it right around now, I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and I'll be catching you here in just a few with some recipes for the holidays. Take care, guys. Bye.